Hello everyone. In this video I have attempted to articulate the separate skull bones and I have tried to make a skull out of it. That is an attempt to give you an orientation about how these bones are joined together in the skull. So this is how it will look like at the end. So let's see how it has been done. So this is a frontal bone. There are multiple bones of the skull. Some of them are forming vault and some of them are forming the base. So this is frontal bone and it will articulate with the parietal bone. So this is I have a parietal bone. It will form part of vault of the skull. This is another one. So these two parietal bones are connected with each other like this and they form a joint. That joint is termed as suture. See this. These are fibrous joints. See, this is sagittal suture. This is how both the parietal bones are joined. This is side view and this is posterior view. The gap behind is occupied by occipital bone and in front this gap is occupied by this frontal bone, and these three together will be joined at coronal suture. So I am trying to connect these three together. The sutures are serrated, so it's a bit difficult to articulate, but I am trying my best to get them joined. See, partly they are joined now. There are bony spicules and they need to be accommodated properly. So it's almost done. So two sutures are formed now, coronal and sagittal. See this. Now almost the vault is formed, and this is front view, this is side view, and this is the posterior view. This is from above how it looks like. So this is frontal bone from in front, and now the frontal bones will be connected with the maxilla. So this is right maxilla I have, and this one is left maxilla. So both the maxilla are connected with each other in the midline, and together they form an aperture, which is termed as piriform aperture for the nose. And this is how both these maxilla are connected in between in the midline by intermaxillary suture. Say this. Now we'll try to join these maxilla with the frontal bones in the midline. Basically there are nasal bones as well along with the maxilla, and this right maxilla is having attached zygomatic bone. So in front the maxilla will join with the frontal bone, and behind this zygomatic bone will join with the frontal bone to form frontozygomatic suture. So this I am trying to join these bones together. See this. In living they are connected by the connective tissue, so it's a bit difficult to hold them together without that connective tissue in dry bones. But now you can have an orientation of half of the skull. From in front you can see part of the orbit. Okay, and now we'll join this separate zygomatic bone. This is left zygomatic bone, and the right one was joined with the maxilla, but this left one is separate. So I will join this with the frontal bone. See this zygomatic bone, and this is the left maxilla. So this maxilla will join in front with the frontal bone, and behind with the zygomatic bone, and medially or along with the midline with the opposite maxilla, and that will complete the aperture, pyriform aperture of the nose. So this is zygomatic bone, very small. So here it will connect with the maxilla. See this, and above with the frontal bone. So now you have a proper orientation of the skull. Still there are bones left behind, and that will fill the gap, but you can have an orientation of how the facial skeleton is formed. Inside there is a gap for sphenoid and temporal bone. Behind will be the occipital bone, and this is the cranial cavity. Inside will be the brain. This is maxilla. Both the maxilla will form upper jaw. Some teeth are preserved, and behind there will be palatine bone. Maxilla and the palatine bone together will form hard palate. So in the midline, these four bones are connected. See this, to form hard palate. Now we'll try to connect other bones to fill the gap. So this is temporal bone, right temporal bone, and that will connect with the zygomatic bone in front with the zygomatic arch, and above and behind with the parietal bone. See, this is how it is connected. The aperture you see in the temporal bone lodges middle ear and internal ear over here. Now I'll try to connect left temporal bone as well. So this is left temporal bone with an aperture lodging ear in living, and this is how it gets connected with the parietal bone along its mastoid part and temporal part, squamous temporal part. See this. This is how temporal bones are connected. Still there is a gap in front of the temporal bone that is filled by sphenoid, particularly greater wing of sphenoid. See this on either side. Okay, so now I think you have got an orientation of the skull. Below will be the mandible. It is not available right now, but rest of the bones I will try to connect. So this is sphenoid, butterfly shaped bone forming base of the skull between frontal bone and temporal bone. So I will try to connect the sphenoid with the temporal bones, particularly the greater wing of sphenoid. Over here you can see squamous temporal and greater wing of sphenoid are being joined together. See this. So this is sphenoid. Again there are multiple processes, and in front this sphenoid will connect with the palatine bone, particularly the pterygoid process. See this. So the palatine bone, which is connected over here with the maxilla, will join with the pterygoid process, and together these bones will form part of boundary of the orbit and pterygopalatine fossa. See, this is how they are connected. Okay. So now I'll try to connect the sphenoid with the skull, part of the skull bones, and we'll try to see the orientation of the sphenoid along with the other bones to see how the sphenoid is situated. behind the maxilla, behind ethmoid. Okay. See this. Now you can have a complete orientation of bony orbits, the bony sockets or orbital sockets. Okay, so now all around the orbit is formed except in the medial aspect, which is lodged by ethmoid bone. That also I'll show you. See this. So I'm removing zygomatic bone from the frontal bone. And now we'll try to see the articulation of sphenoid with the ethmoid. So in front of sphenoid lies papery thin ethmoid bone, very fragile, and this is how both these are connected. Basically, the ethmoid will form medial boundary of the orbit, particularly orbital plate of ethmoid. In itself, ethmoid lodges the air sinuses. So this is an example of pneumatic bone. You can see multiple intercommunicating air-filled cavities. And if you see it in relation to the frontal bone, see this is how it is lodged with the soft tissues. So it's a bit difficult to hold it without soft tissue, without connective tissue. But this is how the ethmoid is oriented in between orbital plate of frontal bone, like this. And the smoother ones are the orbital plates of ethmoid forming medial boundary of orbit. So this is how it is lying. See this. It's very fragile, very thin plates are formed. See, this is how it will complete the anterior cranial fossa. Now if we attempt to put sphenoid behind, this is how it is attached. See this. See, this is how it is connected along with the parietal bone and part of the frontal bone together, along with the temporal bone together they form pterion, particularly greater wing of sphenoid. See, now it is connected, the sphenoid with parietal bone and frontal bone, and deep inside the sphenoid will form part and parcel of middle cranial fossa. So it is, it's a bit difficult to align all these sutures together because of bony spicules. See this, the base of the skull is being formed. The gap behind the sphenoid will be filled by temporal bone and occipital bone. Almost done. See this. If I zoom in, you'll realize how small thin plates are formed along with the ethmoid, along with the other bones. See this. This is ethmoid, and these are the related bones, frontal bone. You see the suture lines. This is portion of sphenoid. Multiple processes, multiple foramina are observed. Now we'll try to connect maxilla. So this is again maxilla with the zygomatic. and that will give you a complete orientation of bony orbit. The lateral margin, medial margin, and the inferior margin of orbit. Again, articulation is a bit difficult at present because of dry bone. See this. Now the orbit is complete with ethmoid, with sphenoid, and with other bones. The bony orbit is complete on right side. Now we'll try to connect the left maxilla. See this. And that will complete the pyriform aperture of the nose. This also completes upper jaw. All the sockets you can see. And this is again left zygomatic bone. We'll try to connect to complete left orbit. See this. The right one is joined with the maxilla, the left one is separate. So we are joining left zygomatic bone at present. See this. This is how completely both the bony sockets, bony orbital sockets are formed. And this is frontal bone. See this. Now I think you have an orientation of the front view of the skull. Now this is side view. Still there are gaps. And this gap is filled by temporal bone. Again, previously we have tried to connect. Let me connect it again. So this is right temporal bone, and leaving it lodges middle ear and internal ear. This is how it is connected. Now the side profile is complete. We need to add occipital bone behind, and that will complete the entire skull. See this. This is occipital bone. This is how it is connected. It's a bit difficult to fix all these sutures, but I'm just giving you an orientation about how this occipital bone will fill the gap behind and below to complete the skull. All what is needed now is mandible below the temporal bone, and that will form temporomandibular joint or jaw joint. See this. This is how the skull is formed with all these small bones. They are all joined by fibrous joint. They are termed as sutures. So let's just revise so far. So many bones we have seen, and this is frontal bone. We'll see one by one all the bones and we'll summarize all the bones. And this is parietal bone, quadrilateral in shape on one side. There are two such parietal bones, right and left. So this is another one. See this, forming vault of the skull along with frontal and occipital bone. Behind we have seen at last is the occipital bone. So this is it, occipital bone with a large foramen. Then we have got this sphenoid butterfly shape lying behind ethmoid and behind frontal bone in relation to temporal bone on either side. See the butterfly shaped sphenoid. This is temporal bone, right sided, lodging ear, multiple foramina, multiple processes, multiple parts that I have discussed in detail in a separate video. This is another temporal bone. So there are two such temporal bones. And this is maxilla containing sockets for the teeth. And over here, if you closely see, there is a small separate bone connected here. This is nasal bone. This is a right maxilla that already we have seen along with the attached zygomatic bone, and this one is the attached nasal bone. So both the bones are connected over here, zygomatic nasal, and behind will be the palatine bone. Again, all these bones have been discussed in separate videos. And this is ethmoid, very fragile, made up of thin plates, multiple foramina, and all these small foramina will allow passage of olfactory nerves. And this one is separate left zygomatic bone that we have seen. This one is right, which is joined with the right maxilla. So this is zygomatic bone, right and left. So this is about orientation of articulation of skull. Hope you understood well. Thanks for watching.